And here we are. We're going to get into James Talarico and more of his insane wokeness that's been exposed. You can unsurface so much of his insane wokeness, and the more that comes out, the more insane he appears, and he is. Or actually, he's not insane. He's just extraordinarily deceptive. He's a liar, and he bastardizes what the Bible says. We'll get into all that in a little bit and have some fun with it, too. Also, the Austin terrorist shooter, the radical Islamic terrorist shooter that WFAA TV Channel 8 says we may never know their motive of him. That Bodycam footage is released. And we also are going to talk to my friend Randy Martin from IRSprob.com about taxes. Right now is the time for you to know what the heck you should do with your taxes. What about no tax on tips? What about no tax on overtime, Social Security? And what do you need to know right now as you're getting your taxes ready? Randy Martin is an expert, he's a friend, and he's the title sponsor of this show. In fact, speaking of which, before we officially begin, this show is brought to you by Randy Martin, IRSprob.com. IRSPROB.com, or as Randy says, IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversies, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. IRSPROB.com. Okay, so another school being Islamicized. The Islamization of another school district. Ramadan displays up at an elementary school, according to Texas Scorecard. Spring Branch ISD orders Ramadan display removed from Bunker Hill Elementary School. They're celebrating Ramadan at the main entrance of an elementary school in a suburban Houston school district. It is going on all over this country, all over our state in Texas and this country. This from the Texas Scorecard. Ramadan display set up. Let me show you the picture of it, by the way. This is it. Moms for Liberty exposed this and fought to get this removed. There's the display right there. Ramadan display. And right as you walk into the school, they were stunned. They were showing up for a Go Texan event where kids are square dancing and doing other stuff. And then the parents saw that and they're like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" They took a picture of it, went viral, everything. So Ramadan display was in the lobby of Bunker Hill Elementary School in Spring Branch ISD, determined to violate the district's policy on religious and political neutrality. You think? I think so myself. Because the display was religious in nature, campus leaders were directed to remove it. The removal was prompted by parent complaints. You have to speak up and you have to say something. For example, at Wiley ISD, Wiley East High, where they're serving halal foods, they're passing out Qurans, adults proselytizing in the middle of the school day, and no one's fired over this, and no one's blamed when we all believe it's all the parents and the students, and I believe it's the principal of Wiley East High, Tiffany Doolin, that may be behind this whole thing. Speak up, show up at the school board meetings. We're going to be at the one at Wiley East on March 24th. The display was put up by Parent Teachers Association's Cultural Awareness Committee. Oh, the Cultural Awareness Committee. Yes. Can you feel the cultural... There we go. Can you feel... All right. Can you feel the cultural awareness flowing? Moms for Liberty said that previous Friday they had a Go Texan Day. That's when they found this thing. Imagine walking into the school for Go Texan Day, and this is the decor to greet you. Ramadan, inshallah. A woman named Kaf Afghazal, who is Muslim, said the removal felt politically motivated. No, we don't Islamicize our schools. Following the removal of Ramadan display, the PTA pulled the Easter decorations as well. Are Easter eggs and Easter bunnies religious? Are they Christian? No, there's nothing Christian about Easter eggs and Easter bunnies. Not that they're bad, but they're not religiously affiliated. Earlier this week, the school's Board of Trustees voted 7-0 to reject a parent's appeal to remove the Ten Commandments posters from the classroom. but you cannot do that because that's state law. A Muslim parent filed a federal lawsuit March 1st because he wants his sons, for us to pay for his son's school with the ESAs, or not ESAs, but the vouchers we have for school, private school vouchers. But that school gets visits from CARE, and CARE is a terrorist organization, a foreign terrorist organization, as Governor Abbott's defined it, and I've told you about it for a long time. They're an unindicted co-conspirator in the largest ever terrorism fundraising case in U.S. history. They sued to get their name removed from the Justice Department as an unindicted co-conspirator, and the judge said, no, you are an unindicted co-conspirator in the largest ever terrorism fundraising case in United States history. Greg Abbott tweeted this out about this. There's no school choice for schools with ties to terrorist organizations. I agree. State lawmakers are, and this is from Texas Scorecard as well today, state lawmakers launched Sharia-free Texas caucus to counter Islamization, the Islamization. State Rep Brent Money says, I think that one of the biggest issues facing Texas right now is the Islamization of Texas, and he's right. He told Texas Scorecard, we're seeing throughout the world that it's what it's like when you have a runaway immigration and enclaves of Islamic communities that don't assimilate into our culture. That's exactly right. Kyle Katie Sims was on my show yesterday, and he was exactly right. Assimilate. Assimilate. This is not assimilation. This is taking over and dominating. Prop 10 asked GOP voters whether or not we should prohibit Sharia law. I voted to prohibit it. 95% of Texans voted to prohibit it. When I go to speak out at the Wiley ISD School Board next month with many of the patriots and the parents and the kids, this is what I'm going to say. 95% of Texans say we want to ban Sharia. This is what they're trying to do, is put Sharia into the schools. That's why they passed out Understanding Sharia pamphlets to the kids in the middle of the day with adults proselytizing, Muslims passing out Qurans in the middle of school day. This is unfreaking thinkable. I can't believe I'm telling you this happened. Still, I can't believe it. The caucus will focus on examining Sharia law and how Islamic legal framework derived from the Quran conflicts with American constitutional protections. Sharia law is an entire civilization of legal structure. How we eat, finance, how our marriages are conducted, what you're allowed to wear, what happens if you decide to leave the faith, what happens when someone insults your religion. All of these are incompatible with the constitutional protections that are afforded to Americans in this great country of ours. Sharia-free America Caucus, the one with Congressman Keith Self and Chip Roy, is what inspired our state lawmakers to do this, and they're following their lead, they said. The majority of membership will grow quickly, he thinks. A lot more people will join up in the State House and State Senate Sharia-free group. Hopefully we'll be able to eventually be a majority of the Texas House. Absolutely. This is very critical to stop the Islamization of Texas. It's not attacking moderate Muslims or Muslims who are assimilated. It's attacking the Islamization of Texas in our schools, which is a big different thing. Here we go. Talarico and his many, many, many lies and his bastardization of God's word. This is going to be fun. But first, let me tell you two things. My sponsor, Randy Martin at IRSprob.com. Randy Martin has been my CPA for over 8 years. He does it for my business, as my CPA for my business, my wife's business, for even my kids, especially when they mess up on their filings and say they're not a dependent, but they are. Helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Randy Martin is your guy at IRSprob.com, as Randy says, IRSprob.com. He'll be joining us for tax advice for you and me, and all the latest on tax information, no tax on tips, etc. Also, Jim Dutton from Texas Home Improvement. Can I tell you what happened today? Just today, my friend's house flooded overnight, and Jim Dutton says you got to hire the same person that your plumber should be a foundation place, because they will screw each other over and put the finger at others. My friend's house flooded last night, and I believe it was because the plumbers were incompetent and messed it up, and the flooding with the rain happened last night. It flooded into his house. This is why I recommend Jim Dutton, whose own Texas Home Improvement is his show across the state of Texas, but this is his plumbing and foundation business that I have used for my home for 11 years. Every piece of plumbing, every piece of foundation work is done from Jim Dutton. He does retaining walls, concrete leveling, foundations. Call him at 972-406-0912, or just call Due West, or go to do-west.com. Due West, Foundation of Plumbing. When you want the best, call Due West. All right, James Talarico. Let's go to the latest. Here's a post that came up that James Talarico put up some time ago, 5 years ago. Look at this guy, 6 years ago. White skin gives me and every white American immunity from the virus. I suppose he's talking about COVID. But we spread it wherever we go, through our words, our actions, our systems. We don't like to have to be showing symptoms like a white hood, or we don't have to be showing a white hood, symptoms like a white hood or a Confederate flag to be contagious. The only cure is diagnosing the virus within ourselves and taking dramatic actions to contain the spread. First small step is proclaiming loudly and unequivocally that Black Lives Matter, says James Talarico. Here's the problem, James. The Dallas Express has been asking you several times, do you support reparations for blacks like Jasmine Crockett does? He says that we are, we have a white virus or something, and, all sorts of stuff. And I'm going to play you more stuff with this crazy fake bastardization of God's word in just a minute what this guy does. But the point I'm trying to make here is he repeatedly is being asked by the Dallas Express, will you support reparations like the candidate you were up against, Jasmine Crockett, did? She proposed exempting black Americans from paying federal taxes for a time for reparations. She co-sponsored the Reparations Now resolution. She supported H.R. 40, which established a commission to study the lasting impacts of slavery and developing reparations proposals. Talarico's office has been contacted multiple times by the Dallas Express to ask about his current position on reparations in the Senate race, and separately contacted his Texas House office to request clarification on his legislative record on reparations-related measures. Neither his campaign nor his House office responded by a publication deadline. But he did tweet out, if kids are old enough to experience racism, they're old enough to learn about it. James Talarico. He focused much of his public commentary on how slavery and white supremacy are taught in Texas schools, which they are not. I'm sorry, slavery is and white supremacy are, but he wants to teach that we're evil and all that DEI crap. Let me also play another piece of Talarico preaching falsehoods and saying abominations to what God's word is. Here we go.
Did they teach you in Sunday school that Jesus Christ himself was a radical feminist? God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
We should treat our southern border like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front.
I want us all to be aware of is that modern science obviously recognizes that there are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6, which honestly, Representative Hefner, surprised me too. Surprised me too, because I am not well versed in this issue area. I'm not a scientist. I'm a politician, a lot worse than a scientist.
What is a woman, James? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. So this guy's a nutball. He's a liar, and he bastardizes what God's words is. God is not non-binary. He is He. He is I am. He is the great I am. He is Elohim. He is many things, but he is not non-binary, and he is not a woman. And that's blasphemous, but he's lucky we're not Islamic because we're not going to go after him. Here is another piece of audio of James Talarico.
You can't call yourself a Christian and reject the stranger seeking asylum at our southern border.
That's a lie. If somebody is here legally, we are to help them if they're in need or something of that nature. But we are to have, God likes boundaries, God likes borders, he wants them enforced, and God likes laws. And he says, I put the government in charge for a reason. And if you obey the laws of the land, you will have nothing to fear in Romans 13:1, St. Paul writes. But if you disobey the laws of the land, you have every reason to fear because God gave the government a sword for a reason. God wants our walls, our boundaries to be up. God wants us to enforce our boundaries just like he does in the Old Testament and New Testament. And God wants our laws enforced and our government respected. And he wants our government feared if you don't obey the laws of the land because he put the government in charge, whether we like the government that's in charge or not. And here's another gem from James Talarico.
In the Gospel of Thomas, which was later omitted from the Bible by church officials, the Gospel of Thomas quotes Jesus as saying, when you make the male and female one and the same, When the male is not male, when the female is not female, then you will enter the kingdom of God.
So James Talarico is saying if you're transgender, you are going to enter the kingdom of God. I mean, first of all, the Gospel of Thomas is not in the Bible. Somebody commented it's for a book that was written for Gnostics or people that don't know what to believe or what they believe or something of that nature. It's unbiblical, and he's preaching it from where it's supposed to be, where there's a cross on there. Many people, the Bible says, will come in and tickle your ear and tell all sorts of lies and make you feel great, but it is the exact opposite. And in fact, those people who are people of the cloth, as he is or claims to be, there are extra special penalties for them when they go to heaven, if he is indeed saved. Special penalties for you, for those of you who are pastors and preach abominations or falsehoods about God's word. So he's got a lot of fun waiting for him at that point if he is indeed saved. And I'm not saying he's not, but sure doesn't act like it, sure doesn't preach like it or talk like it. James Talarico also tweeted out, Republicans stole the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court stole our rights. Really? So do you agree with their decision on tariffs that struck down Trump's tariffs, or do you still want them struck down or think they're bad? He was calling on Biden to use, listen to this, we can't stand by and watch, because he talked about the striking Roe versus Wade down. We can't just stand by and watch. I'm calling on Joe Biden to use federal buildings to provide abortion care to women in red states. James Talarico called on Biden to allow federal buildings to have abortions for women. He is literally voting for and supporting the false god of Moloch, which has child sacrifices. He says, our political system is broken. Democrats have won the popular vote in 7 of the last presidential elections, yet there's a radical anti-choice majority in the Supreme Court. Biden must take extraordinary steps to counter this subversion of the public will. That was a bad choice way back when. I mean, a bad decision. Roe versus Wade was always a bad decision. It was done based on what the Supreme Court thought the culture was, not on law, which is why it was easily overturned. You know what else? James, if you say Black Lives Matter in that post I shared with you, then you should be supporting paying for reparations of black people, even though you won't answer that question repeatedly from the Dallas Express. Number 2, I'll bet, I don't know, but how much you want to bet James Talarico supported the terrorization of that church in St. Paul, Minnesota, City's Church? All 29 people have been rounded up and arrested for violating the FACE Act, violating the Klan Act, and other things, and I'm grateful for that. And they terrorized that church. How much you want to bet this guy supports terrorizing churches that don't agree with their woke philosophy and their false teachings about God and the Bible? I would never advocate for terrorizing James and his woke church. I would never advocate for terrorizing or going in and stopping his services or at the gay church in downtown Dallas, which last time I checked was the biggest gay church in the country. I would never advocate for going in and terrorizing them, blocking them, protesting inside of their building, because you can't do that. It's illegal. You're violating their First Amendment right to worship their God, even if it's a false God or the god of Moloch with a little g. James Talarico tweeted this out. Black Americans in a church, this is wild. This is like stupid. This guy's nuts. Black Americans in a church, Mexican Americans in a store, Asian Americans in a spa, radicalized white men are the greatest domestic terrorist threat in our country? What? He tweeted that out March 18th, 2021. He also says, from abortion to guns to voting, a reactionary minority is threatening our most basic rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Leaders at all levels have to start using every tool in the toolbox to protect our freedoms. We won't always win, but we have to fight, he said in 2022 on Twitter. Ultimately, the only way to save American democracy is to abolish the undemocratic loopholes in our system, the Electoral College, the filibuster, and reestablish majority rule. Women need abortion care now, he put with emphasis on that. Woo! He also tweeted this out in 2022. Law professor Donnelly Greer, whatever his name is, first floated the idea of providing abortion care on federal lands or in federal offices. GSA, General Services Administration, manages more than 800 federally owned or leased buildings in Texas alone. He wants our federal buildings being used and lands for abortions. We must act. Women will die if they don't. No women have died. And in whatever states they have He calls it abortion care. Killing a baby is not care. But you can go outside of Texas if you want to kill your baby, James, and you can help give them money if you want for that murder. James Talarico also said, Mr. President, we voted for you to Joe Biden in 2022. You can take bold executive action today, emphasis, to protect abortion access. Our democracy is experiencing a hostile takeover by a radical minority. Meet the moment before it's too late. And then Life News responded, how is killing a baby care? Here's a little bit more from Lance Gooden, his tweet. I retweeted this on my Twitter feed. A recap of what James Talarico believes. Jesus Christ is a radical feminist, which is totally false. White men are the greatest terror threat, totally false. There are 6 biological sexes, totally false. The border should be a front porch, which is the antithesis of this. It should be a fortress that you cannot get in without our permission for protection. And also, he said, atheists are more Christ-like than Christians. Atheists are more Christ-like than Christians. If James wanted to preach the truth, he would say that Christians and non-Christians alike are broken, in need of Jesus, and are irredeemable without Jesus, and are fallen and have sinful hearts. All of us. Talarico is too woke, too radical, and out of touch with Texans, says Lance Good, and he's right. Okay. Texas Senate primary. Already record-breaking heads to Cornyn and Paxton runoff. Here's your story. The story is that this is the most expensive Senate race for the primaries alone in history of the United States. Previously, it was Arizona with $110 million. We broke it at $122 million. That includes both Republican and Democrat sides. But who is the behemoth who spent the most amount of money and just barely got a slight 1 or 2 points? John Cornyn, who cannot get elected in this state when he's up against Ken Paxton. John Cornyn had to spend $69 million to keep his seat. Ken Paxton only spent $4.1 million, and John Cornyn spent $65 million more, and he barely beat Paxton by a point or two. He is a disgrace. Fire Cornyn. By comparison, $4.1 million is Paxton. Wesley Hunt, $12 million. And again, Cornyn, $69 million. What a failure. It's because he's not good for Texas, and we all know it. He's milquetoast. He said Trump shouldn't run in 2024. She should end. He should be done. John Cornyn's a sellout, and he's a rhino, and he won't tell us anything on controversial topics until we've all made up our mind, and it's 2 weeks later, and he sticks his finger up in the air, licks it, and says, here's my position. Get out, John Cornyn. James Talarico and Jazzy. James got $27.5 million. I'm sorry. James Talarico spent $20.8 million, $21 million. Crockett only $4.5. So the behemoth candidates were Talarico and Cornyn. I believe Talarico is so radical, and it's easily to get it out there over the as the race before November hits, that we're going to win, and we're going to win nicely. Dallas County. Dallas Morning News. Dallas County switched to precincts confuse voters. Were election workers prepared? You know, the Republicans didn't have any problems. It was the Democrats. And the Democrat-controlled County of Dallas, City of Dallas, with all Democrats elected, no Republicans, they screwed this up. They spent $1 million on flyers sent to homes, on advertisements, and the Democrats still couldn't figure it out because they were too stupid to figure it out. 75 polling places, the county station navigators. But if navigators failed to ask for the voters' party affiliation, some people were sent to the wrong site. The elections administrator, Paul Adams, says the problem wasn't that there wasn't enough time. That's what his problem was. It was not that there wasn't enough time. It's because you have incompetent election officials and Democrats are incompetent. That's the problem. Bruce Sherbert, you guys fired about 10 years ago, and he went to Collin County, and you ain't hear a peep out of Collin County having a problem because he got fired because he's white, and JWP didn't want him being in charge of our elections, even though he's the best election administration official in the country. If not the best, he's one of the best, if not the best, period. And they fired him because he was white. Here's a lady who's a clerk at the Arlington Park Rec Center, Democrat-only site. I felt terrible because I realized I was unknowingly a part of the problem that was disenfranchising voters because of the way it was set up. We honestly thought we were telling them to go to the right place. The Democrats were disenfranchising their own voters, who are in turn blaming the Republicans who don't control anything in Dallas or Dallas County. You have to love this. Democrat Party Chairman Cardell Coleman said, "This situation is what we knew and what we anticipated and what we warned Alan West and the Republican Party would happen, and it's all coming to bear today." You knew it, and you couldn't figure it out and fix it, and you're blaming the freaking Republican Party who had nothing to do with your polling places and your people. This is so classic Democrat, blaming the freaking Republicans for their massive error and incompetency and stupidity. This is so rich. Commissioner's Court spent $1 million in January for advertisements. Adams said he wanted the mailers. The elections guy said he wanted the mailers personalized to each residence, blah, 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 blah. Adams said there wasn't enough time to finalize polling places. Just grand incompetency. Why was primary voting so painful in Dallas County? Asked the Dallas Morning News editorial board, leftist editorial board. Even our well-exercised imagination failed to envision just how bad Election Day would turn out to be in Dallas County, says the Dallas Morning News. No, just for the Democrats. Chaos. Hundreds of voters were not at their assigned precincts. The Secretary of State had outdated precinct maps. That's the Secretary of State, no one here locally. Voters had to physically sort themselves into Republican. Oh, this is great. They're whining. Voters had to physically sort themselves into Republican or Democrat in plain view of everyone else at the polling station. So what? Why are you ashamed of being a Democrat? The area I'm at is 50-50. I was glad to go into the Republican side. This is all BS. These are snowflake, wokelets, and incompetent people. They control everything in the county, and they still can't figure it out. And in the city. Some voters complained that they had to wait in line to use a machine on the Democrat side while the machine sat idle on the Republican side. They're complaining that there's not a lot of Republicans in Dallas. They're complaining about everything. You know who had an effortless Tuesday? The Dallas Morning News editorial board says Alan West. Yeah. You know who didn't have a good day? Harambe. You know who had an effortless Tuesday? Alan West. The engineer of this mess sailed to re-election as local party chair unchallenged. You damn right. It's just like, remember the Harambe stuff that was going on for a year or two? You know who else can't be happy today? Harambe, because he's dead. Dallas County Democrats decided to let him go, Crusoe. It's what we got is worse, though, honestly. This is from Texas Scorecard. They picked up on the fact that I've been calling him Let Him Go Crusoe now for about 10, 15 years, whatever. I don't know, 10 years. Amber Givens is a woke, leftist, crazy lunatic judge who has been severely reprimanded. Even almost a criminal investigation was opened, but the Texas State Commission on Judicial Conduct issued a reprimand to Amber Givens, who is now going to be the new DA. She called it a politically motivated attack. She also received a public admonishment for the misconduct in 2 other cases. Amber Givens is a woke leftist judge. I am 99.9%. A couple years ago, I was summoned to be a juror, and I'm 99.9%. It was her. And the first thing she did was lay down about how she was black and how about look at all these look at this poster I have up on here. Look at all these. She had all these things up about I'm the first black woman judge. I'm the first black woman judge. And do you know what it was like in this history? She was preaching black BLM wokeness to us jurors as voir dire was about to start. She said, so that's why I had this picture up here, and it was all about Black Lives Matter and about that kind of stuff, and about how she's breaking all grounds because she's the first female black judge or something like that. It's like, what the hell are you doing? She was preaching woke leftist BLM crap before anything even started to us, the jurors, the potential jurors in voir dire. It was unbelievable. This is the woman who's now going to be your DA, who was caught, according to the judicial officials. She was literally had somebody substitute, one of her clerks substitute for her and pretend like it was her on an audio feed of a live court hearing. Remember that? Yeah, that was her. And she also had 2 other misconduct cases. This is a woke, leftist, BLM worshiping, get whitey type of a person. We're in for a real treat with this woman. She's crazy. And she's establishing community justice councils that will bring residents, community leaders, victims, and justice system stakeholders together to ensure the office remains grounded in the needs of the people we serve. So, in fact, she's going to create these community justice councils. advisory groups that will bring together residents, victims, clergy, woke leftist clergy, BLM clergy, like Freddie Haynes from a Friendship, a Baptist church, Yetha. So other policies remain grounded in community needs. So she's going to have woke community justice councils. This is going to be bad. This is going to be worse than Let Him Go Crusoe. And he was bad. Soros money. She's going to get all the Soros money. He's going to love her. Amanda Brannon, former president of the Dallas Criminal Defense Lawyers Association, says she's gotten a lot of phone calls. There's a lot of people freaking out. It's scary to think who's going to be the next district attorney. She couldn't even run her court efficiently, and now she's going to be the DA. It's upsetting. Somebody who has treated people with such disrespect for her courtroom, has been so untruthful, has won. This is in the Dallas Morning News today. Among this former head of the Dallas Criminal Defense Lawyers Association said one of her concerns, potential loss of talented prosecutors in the DA's office. Even before the election, local prosecutors were talking about how they're going to need to find jobs if she gets elected. Well, there you go. We're screwed. They're screwed. We're all screwed. Tony Gonzalez admitted to the affair last night while on the air with Joe Paglia, blah, blah, blah. And my friends from San Antonio, where I fill in all the time at KTSA, which is the home of Pags, and some great people that I fill in for at 550 KTSA and FM 1079 in San Antonio. They sent me the police report. The woman who lit herself on fire said her husband was having an affair with a man and was gay. They'd been estranged for a few months. The woman said something like, "Here you go. Here's my response to you and your affair," or whatever. Lit herself on fire. And that was in the police report. And so the husband, obviously now, according to his own ex-wife, or deceased wife who lit herself on fire, self-immolated, according to her, he was having a gay affair with a gay man. So that's out. And now Tony Gonzalez confessed that he had an affair with her after lying by omission, after refusing to answer questions, after being confronted by news organizations like KSAT in San Antonio TV and being asked, and that he shunned them from all their press conferences, shunned them from being able to cover anything with him until finally, months later, Veterans Day comes out, and then they go up to him because he won't answer any questions about this, and he's like, "Is this about Veterans Day? Is this about Veterans Day? Don't ask me any questions about Veterans Day. Only about the veterans." And they're like, "Well, you won't talk to us. We've asked you 20 times to comment on the affair allegations." And he's like, "I'm not doing it. Nope, this is about the veterans. How dare you? Shame on you, the veterans. This guy has been lying for months. This guy had an affair. He admitted now he had an affair with his staffer, his underling, which is against congressional rules. He's now going to be on he's under official investigation and can be taken down by that. This man had an affair with a woman who lived in a tiny house, who's just getting by with this man in Uvalde. I've shown you the pictures of her house. He used her. He was insanely more powerful than her. He was his boss. She was unstable, and he still diddled her, and then she killed herself as a result partially of that. He needs to resign. And today, finally, the freaking House leadership is calling him to resign. We have encouraged him to address these serious allegations directly with his constituents and colleagues, says House GOP leadership today, or March 4th. In the meantime, leadership has asked Gonzalez to withdraw from his race for re-election. Exactly. Gonzalez said in his interview, "I made a mistake. I had a lapse in judgment. There was a lack of faith. I take full responsibility for those actions. Since then, I've reconciled with my wife, Angel. I've asked God to forgive me, which he has, and my faith has stronger than ever. When you make mistakes like this, it's never easy. It humbles you. Well, you made a mistake, and now you got to deal with the consequences. Get out of our Texas congressional seat now. The only person that thinks he can win this is him." Gonzalez defended himself in the interview, claiming no responsibility for Santos Avila's suicide, which is a lie. He pointed out to the police report, which she was saying, and the family was saying, that after he stopped diddling her, he cut her off little by little, all of her responsibilities, alienated her, cut her off, less responsibilities, no appearances with her. That man used her and spit her up, and she was vulnerable. You can say it's her fault that she killed herself, but she was vulnerable, and he's the one who diddled her, and he was her boss. Get the hell out of our office. He says, her killing herself had absolutely nothing to do with it. You can't hate the media enough. I will take responsibility for my actions. You didn't take responsibility for your actions for about 6 months, brother. Get out. Real quick, and then we're going to go to my friend Randy Martin about tax on tips, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. No tax and Social Security, what you need to know about your IRS problems and what you should do about filing right now, and tips for this year. But first, Austin 6th Street shooting, total of 19 people shot, not 14 or 13. 3 dead now from the terrorist. That WFA TV Channel 8 says, we may never know what his motives are. You think wearing a sweatshirt that said property of Allah and below that the Iranian flag and an Islamic flag on there, and his writings about Islam being supreme and extreme, and he's going to go to heaven and his virgins, or all that kind of stuff, and hatred of Jews and support of terrorism. His own imam in New York City said he was radicalized by pro-Hamas people. So he was a radical Islamic terrorist. Even though WFA TV Channel 8 and the mainstream media doesn't want to tell you that's what it was. Here's the body cam footage of the heroic police officers. This is why there are heroes. This is why I think our cops are heroes. This is why I'm proud of my dad for being a cop in Chicago for 10 years before going to the feds. Let me play you the body cam video because you can see these people are absolutely the cops, why they are absolute heroes. Here we go.
Hey, I'm with you. I'm with you. AR-15 or less. Down! Everybody down! 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 Where is he? Where? We don't know. Right there, right there. Hey! Front 2 shots fired, 1 down. 6 on West Ave.
Watch this.
Over there.
These are different angles.
Where is it? Where is it? Who shot? Shots fired! Shots fired! The suspect is down! Stop moving! Stop moving! Don't move! Don't move! I'm on the suspect! Move here now! I'm on the 6th and West!
Those are damn heroes. Those are damn heroes. A terrorist, a radical Islamic terrorist, an immigrant who would not assimilate, who, according to her wife, his ex-wife, beat her, and he said Islam gives him the permission to do this. Sharia law, anyone? Those frickin' cops are my heroes. Everybody had no guns. Nobody was shooting back. They were running like ducks on in water, like fish in a barrel. And they came and they shot and they killed that SOB. Governor Abbott, Republican legislator, let us carry our weapons in bars. We can handle ourselves. Criminals carry guns everywhere. We don't. We follow the law. Let us carry guns so we can shoot terrorists that try to kill us. Those cops are dang heroes. Dang heroes. His only interaction with law enforcement was in 2022 prior. His mental health, it was a welfare check. Yeah, he's got a lot of problems with his mind because he's an Islamist. That's why. All right, now we get to talk to my friend Randy Martin from IRSprob.com. That's IRSPROB.com. IRSPROB.com. Randy Martin, first of all, thank you for your patience in waiting. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Go ahead. Nope, nothing yet. We'll get you on in a second. Don't worry. Anything now? Nope. But don't worry. I can do some other stuff. And then, you want to join us a minute? Restart it? Okay, no problem. That happens. This is live. This shows you how real this is. And I love that. Randy's going to refire up his computer and then join us live in a minute. It's so stupid with this stuff, isn't it? I deal with this. There's a reason why my podcast is supposed to start at a certain time and it's always late. Okay. Let's go to this while waiting for Randy to fire. Oh, he's back up. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Captain, can you hear me? I cannot hear you. Can you hear me? Don't worry about it. Okay. I'll let you tweak it out. I don't know if you want to hit a bunch of buttons while I wait. You tweak it out, and I'm going to sit here and do some other stuff as well. So I have a few things. I have And I'm going to keep you up, Randy. You're on a split screen with me right now, and then you can just keep chiming. Oh, he's going to chime out and chime back in again. Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to play you something right now. This is a crazed nurse in Florida asking China, all of our enemies, to attack us. And once she's asking China, Canada to invade us, attack us, UK, this lunatic, and she has since put her social media feed on lockdown or whatever, but it's too late. This crazed lunatic leftist nurse.
Hey, Joyce the Advocate here. Come on, Canada. Come on, UK. Come on, China. You know you want to do it. Come in and attack United States. You don't like our regime.
Hey, she's a nurse advocate. Would you want her to advocate for you? She might want to cut your head off if you support Trump.
We don't like it either. Help us. Please help the United States. Come in. Come in. Help us. We'll figure it out. We don't like our regime either. Come on, help us.
I like how she has TV in the background like she's some senile old lady, but yet she currently is a Florida nurse. She posted this on TikTok, calling on these foreign governments to invade us. She's the owner and lead nurse advocate at her business, At Your Request Patient Advocate. Unless you're a Trump supporter, then she might advocate for the Chinese coming in and shooting you. I don't know. But she has now locked down her socials and stuff like that, and has hidden, but it's too late. It's been caught, and there's that lunatic. I'm sure the Florida State Board will revoke her nursing license soon, as they should, because obviously she's not going to support people who are supporters of, are supporters of Trump. All right, Randy Martin, IRSProb.com. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah!
Rock and roll.
Let's just bask in glory for a minute, because we can do whatever we want.
Audio's
Yeah! Ah! I mean, this is insane, all this technological stuff, isn't it?
Most definitely. Yeah.
How are you?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I got all my questions here somewhere. First of all, tell me one thing, maybe something that I've addressed or that's been in the news that you feel like sharing a little opinion on before we get into the tax stuff and what people need to do for tax time and no tax on tips and all these other things.
Yeah. You know, you and I see eye to eye on what's going on here. I think we, in my way of saying it, we kind of cut through the fog that has been put up by mainstream media and see what's really taking place here with the Islamist activities. They are out trying to proselytize. They are not, you know, the gaslighting that is put out there by this organization, Islam.
Care? Yeah, just Islam in general.
In general, is tremendous. I mean, they tell you one thing: hey, we're a religion of peace. We're a religion of peace. We're a religion of peace. And people think they're a religion of peace, but yet terror just follows everywhere they go. Mm-hmm. Whether it be, you know, in Egypt, in the Coptic Christians who they beheaded there, whether it be a lot of us never really started looking at this until 9/11 when we saw the towers go down, and that was why was that? That was because of Islam.
Right.
The jihad that the Ayatollahs are calling for, you know, they're calling for jihad.
Yep.
So I'm really scared that, you know, this is already, you know, it's, for a long time it's been already in our reached our shore and within our borders.
Yes.
You know, I pray that we have a government and leaders that want to protect us. And I'm talking to John Cornyn, man. Come on, you got to be doing your job. I don't know where this is going to go with this runoff.
Yeah.
You know, I know there's a lot of issues here that are, but man, if you're going to represent Texas, you got to do your job. And protect us. Don't just try to be milquetoast, man. Don't just try to be any way the wind blows. So
absolutely,
that's my on it. That's my opinion on it. I'm worried about our country.
Yep.
God bless Donald Trump. I hope that you know, may the Lord protect him.
Right.
I worry about that too. There's a lot of people that are very against him, and a lot of people that are just against our country right now.
Yeah.
It's almost like anything that America does, the Americans that are against America, anything that we do and do well, they want to be against it.
Yes. Absolutely.
I'm,
Well, I
I'm
appreciate your hot take, man. I really do, actually. I appreciate
thanks,
your
Chris.
thoughts. I absolutely do. We see eye to eye on pretty much everything, and it's always
Yeah.
great talking to you and hanging out with you. Not just when we're doing taxes stuff, but also just hanging out. We talk a lot, and I love
Right.
that. I
Right.
love that. I go to make coffee at your office, and I make my manly blend, and sometimes it's so strong that even I can't have it. Last time I was there, it was too strong.
30 weight motor oil. I mean, it was,
You can have your acid reflux bill from the medical folks written off because of me. So your client did that to you. Okay, so let's do this. Tell me what's going on with the IRS, because I mean, people want to know about no tax on tips, no tax on overtime,
Yeah.
no tax on Social Security, and some other stuff.
and all those are good. I mean, there's no tax on tips, there's no tax on overtime, there's no tax on Social Security. You know, all of them have formulas, and so if you're doing it yourself, you really make sure that you follow the formula, and they are capped out. I mean, you know, for somebody that's making over 150K, they miss out on the no tax on tips, which okay, I get that.
Yeah.
The Social Security kind of caps out a little bit early, which is kind of frustrating. It's really not a no tax on Social Security. It's a deduction for your Social Security, which eliminates a lot of it. But hey, you know, I know they had to do it that way to get it through.
Right.
We'll take it. But one thing that I think is going to help a lot of people now is that a lot of folks have homes and they're paying over $10,000 a year in property tax.
Yes.
Between the property tax and also, you know, if you add up your sales tax or you know, have a good estimate of your sales tax, it's pretty easy to get over $10,000 a year on that now.
Yes.
You know, so we for years we've had so many people that are hitting that ceiling. Well, now for 2025 year, it's going to be up to 40,000, and so that's pretty big for all of us. So
Yes.
that weren't previously able to write off or to itemize deductions, you have a better chance of itemizing them now, and that really helps us out a
That's
lot.
good.
Because if you think of, you have this you have the mortgage interest on your home, you have
Yes.
the property tax on it, you have your charitable givings. All that really has to be over 30,000 or 32,000 for 2026
Okay.
before it really helps you. So I think we'll see a big boost on that. A lot of people able to actually write off that, and it helps charitable giving at the same time. That's good.
Yes.
Because, see that, hey, that's we don't give because it's a tax write off, but it sure does help.
Here's the big thing too. We've been hearing on and off that people are going to get should be getting more back on their taxes this year because of the big beautiful bill. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so lower tax rates across the board for everybody, and so we're seeing larger refunds coming in. Last year was kind of a tough year for refunds. I mean, it just we were seeing lower refunds for the whole year, and
Yes.
a lot of people that typically owe money, they were owing more. So that's a conversation that we'd prefer not to have if we can, if there's anything at all we can do to avoid it. And so this year we are seeing higher refunds across the board, and that's good for a lot of our retailers are hurting, a lot of our businesses are hurting, a lot of people just need some extra change in their pocket.
Yeah.
So getting that is very helpful.
Here's some kind of a bevy of different stories today in the news that I wanted to ask you about with IRS issues. IRS warns about back tax phone scams targeting taxpayers. Scammers want your money. That they'll call, or they'll say, "Here we go, Tax Mediation Resolution Agency." The call will be from that, a Tax Mediation Resolution Agency, or Tax Resolution Oversight Department. They're trying to trick you into thinking it is the IRS,
Right.
and they want to get your information. All sorts of stuff. What can you say about that?
Yeah, don't give any information out. I tell people not to even answer the phone with their name or not give their name. A lot of these folks are sharp enough that they do have the names of the individuals that they're calling, but they should be able to tell you your Social Security number. They should be able to tell you your date of birth.
So if you think it's the IRS, or they're representing themselves, what's my date of birth? What's my Social Security number? They should be able to tell you.
Yeah, they should be able to tell you all of that. The IRS gives out an employee number immediately, and it's a long one. And they start certain ways. They usually start 100 or 1000, and then they kind of go off into the number, and they usually spit it out pretty fast. I've had some of these. We've called some of these numbers on behalf of clients.
Yeah.
And when we hear them, we can tell pretty quick that they're not legit. We've had some that are legit too. So
So let me ask you this: will the IRS ever call you?
it's not likely. A lot of times when they're calling somebody, it's because they've been trying to get a hold of them, and they've moved, and so they don't have the updated address, and they haven't. The only two ways to change your address with the IRS is to file a tax return with a new address, or to file a change of address form, and there's a specific form for that. If not, they quite often we find that they've been sending mail to an old address, but yeah, they can, and we have them call us sometimes on asking about clients and the question on the return or something. So it's unlikely. Usually they're going to drop a letter in the mail for that, though.
Okay. Here we go. IRS watchdog warns of greater challenges for taxpayers this year. The National Taxpayer Advocate recently submitted one of her biannual reports to Congress. Relatively smooth experience last year. Greater challenges for a number of filers this year as the result of the massive workforce reduction, leadership turnover, extensive and complex tax law changes. Thoughts on that? Yay, nay?
Yeah, it's kind of a wild west with a lot of these preparers out there. And so the groups that used to kind of, and not very effectively, but used to keep an eye on them, they've really been trimmed down. I foresee them building that group back up, but they haven't yet. So yeah, be careful out there who you get to do your tax return. Make sure it's not a fly-by-night organization. There's so many of these, these groups that, they kind of come to town like the circus or carnies, and they open up a tent and start doing tax returns out of it, and then you don't see them again.
People get screwed.
Yeah, and they're you don't have anybody you can call. You don't have anybody you can ask any questions to. So.
IRS broke the law approximately 42,695 times, an ICE judge says, by sharing stuff with ICE is the vast majority of that. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, in the past, for as long as I can remember, the IRS has had a kind of an agreement with the undocumented workers. Hey, we want you to file your taxes, and so they'll get them to file the tax return, and they have the information on them, and it's kind of been agreed, or I guess the IRS called upon themselves to say, we're not going to turn it in. Hey, it's going to be safe with us. I don't think the IRS really ever had the authority to make that decision.
Right.
And so now they're kind of getting caught in this situation where they made a commitment, and ICE is saying, and the government saying, the Department of Justice is saying, hey,
yes,
you've got everything that we need. You are the federal government. We are the federal government. Hand it over.
Yes.
So I admittedly, I think it was pretty stupid of them to have made those commitments.
Yes.
It's kind of like harboring.
Yes, a fugitive for justice and illegal.
So yeah, they got themselves in a bad situation.
So basically, hopefully that I'm sure it's a Biden appointed or Obama judge, and they'll overturn it hopefully on appeal, because that's of course we should be able to have that information to go after illegals. Whether they pay their taxes or not is not relevant. They need to get out of this country, right? IRS just made it much easier to report tax fraud scams this year. They give the website irs.gov/submit-a-tip page. I mean, where do we see tax fraud scams? Where would somebody notice something like that?
Man, I don't know. This is something that really pisses me off, because the government's doing nothing about all these scams. I think they send it in, and the message gets deleted within 48 hours. I don't think they're doing anything. There are a ton of scams going on. We have people coming to us that are being scammed all the time, wondering, hey, how's this going to affect my tax situation? Because a lot of times they're pulling money out of retirement plans. And if they pull money out of a retirement plan, it's a tax.
Massive penalty.
All that distribution becomes taxable. And there's penalties involved and everything. And I, when this goes on, maybe 1 out of every 4 cases gets attention from the government. The others are they don't. They try to report it. The feds, and when it's cyber crimes, there's not any interest in local law enforcement to go do it. I mean, what power do they have? But when they go to the feds, the FBI, there's a department in the FTC that will also help out with this. They are They do very little, and even when they have at times caught some of the people, they tend to let them go because they consider them lower level people, not the
Yeah, not
not the brain of the scam. And but I don't know why they don't throw the book at them. I don't know
Meanwhile,
why.
the Nigerian prince in Nigeria is not getting in trouble.
Right, right.
Oh my gosh.
It's frustrating. I mean, they're very impotent on this whole thing with scams and cyber scams and investing scams. They just they're not pursuing it. They're toothless.
This is wild. From the Wall Street Journal, columnist Tanza Loudenbeck says, "Why I hired a tax pro." She started out doing her own. She had one job, was single, all this stuff. But then she went to do her own thing, like a freelance, and she became a certified financial planner, blah, blah, blah. But in 2021, she quit her job, freelance writer, and then her whole situation wasn't simple. Her stepdad, who suggested she work with his CPA, and she wasn't convinced she needed help. It took more than double the usual time to prepare her 2021 tax returns. The same online tax prep company. It would turn into a disaster. And so, what are your thoughts on when folks should hire a tax pro?
Yeah, it's kind of tough because I definitely get the desire to save money on it, and there's nothing cheap about it. But I would say if somebody is in business for themselves, if they're getting a 1099 for their earnings, yeah, they definitely need, and if it's sizable, they definitely need to get a pro on that. There's a lot of great CPAs in this area. There's a lot of great tax people. A lot of people like to use the folks that they can go in and see them. I'd advise people to. I mean, why would you want to get somebody across the country? Now, we have people coming to us from other sides of the country. I don't want to tell them that, but you can go in, even if you don't go into the office. If you need to go drop something off, shake a hand. You know where they live.
Yes.
Basically.
Hey, by the way, I'm going to show an example of one of the top CPAs in the country. Here is a picture. You might not hear me when I flip over to this, but just stand by. Here's a picture. I have some pictures of a handsome man who was just featured, a graduate of the best CPA school in the state of Texas from UT Austin. And here's a picture of him giving presentation to future CPA students at UT. Here he is right there. Look at that guy in the middle. That is Randall W. Martin, CPA. I forget all your titles. Here's another picture of Randall W. Martin. He's preaching. Speaking with the next generation of business leaders. There he is, my guy, Randy Martin at UT, as they're teaching. He is teaching them. So, Randy, there you were, top CPA in the state, teaching the kids. Tell me what that was like. What'd you talk to them about at UT Austin, and what was that like? That must have been great for you to go home to your alma mater where you worked your butt off to your CPA.
It was kind of nostalgic. It had been such a long time since I've been back in the business school. My oldest son went there for undergraduate, and so I'd been there, but he wasn't in the business school, and so
he just couldn't hack it like Dad. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. He's going to law school now at SMU, I think, or something, right?
He was more artistic, yeah. But there was a lot of nostalgia and memories that came back. I mean, it's the same. I don't think they've changed that much in that school. I mean, it's the same. It looks like old communistic block architecture.
Old communistic block, what?
It ain't pretty, man. I mean, but there's a lot of memories in there, a lot of time spent there, and I was trying to. My wife Norma came with me, and she was kind of like, "This is where you went to school. This is what you're always bragging about."
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It's the reputation's really good. Okay.
It is.
The infrastructure might be a little bit old.
You and Norma going together for that reminds me of me and Faye, Faye and my wife, Faye and me, my wife and I should say, going to my alma mater, our alma mater, Western Illinois University, and I got an award over there, and I got to speak, and it was a cathartic experience, or whatever you want to call it. It was, it was amazing, and we're the same age, so you and I going back to our places and getting these awards or being able to speak is really a neat thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what it reminded me of is back when I was, sitting in the desk. There were people that I looked up to, and there was a friend of mine, her dad was from McAllen. They were from McAllen,
Yeah.
and I mean, his name was Alter Holland. He was a very entrepreneurial, just a very interesting guy. I really looked up to him. You know, it's kind of like you see folks like that you wanted to be like them. Another friend of mine from here out here in Rockwall, Dwayne Kane. He was a UT graduate as well. I remember as a kid, I always kind of looked up to him, and his dad was an entrepreneur in the Rockwall area, home builder. They owned a funeral home in Rockwall. I mean, and just great people. You know, Alter Holland and the Kane family as well. And there's others that I'd met just throughout, you know, the time there and you know, before then and since then, that you have a lot of respect for them, and you kind of, I don't know, they kind of gave back. They would give back, and I feel like it was my responsibility to kind of start giving more than because I've been a taker for a long time.
Our last question is, who needs a tax planning advisor? It's from the Wall Street Journal also. What is a tax planning advisor? Let me just ask, who needs a tax planning advisor?
Yeah, that's a really
you do tax planning. You do tax planning.
Yeah, the tax planning. So if you're a business owner, or if you have a lot of real estate properties, you have or investments, it really it may very well pay to have just an advisor look over your situation and just see if this is something that would be beneficial. I mean, when I look at a tax return and talk to the taxpayer for a little bit, I can tell you really quickly about how much we can save, at least a minimum of how much can be saved by us going into that tax return and starting to be proactive with the tax planning that we're doing. Like right now, we're doing tax planning for 2026. 2025 is already closed. I mean, there's some things you can do kind of retroactively, but the big juicy deductions, write-offs, credits that you get, you really have to plan for them while you're in the tax year. By the time the year ends, it's too late. And so that's really the tax planning side of it. And, who needs one? Get out your tax return, look at the second page of the 1040 and how much are you paying in taxes? That's the big question. And, for our clients, we try to make sure that we can at least save them, 20 to 25,000. We're saving them an average of 44,000 a year in tax. And so, those are the guys that, it's worth it. We're kind of a pain because we ask them a lot of questions. We do certain things. And they have quarterly meetings with us. It's not those. I mean, we're great guys to be around, but I'm sure other things they'd rather do.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that need tax planning.
Okay. Okay. How can folks get in touch with you? And I mean, you're my tax planner, you're my CPA, and you specialize in, tell folks you specialize in people that have good people that have IRS problems.
Right. Yeah.
Tell me that real fast and how they can get in touch.
Yeah. We help good people with IRS problems. Sometimes that problem is you have more taxes that you can pay. Sometimes it's the IRS sent you an audit letter. Other times it's just every year you're getting crushed by these taxes and you're in this wheel that you can't get out of. And so that's where the planning comes in. And so, anybody that wants to get in contact with us, just get a time on the calendar so we can talk about the situation. Our telephone number is 214-214-3000. That's 214-214-3000. Or you can always look us up online at irsprob.com. That's IRSPROB.
Yeah! Do that again.
IRSPROB.com.
Randy Martin, thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Chris. Have a great evening.
You too. We'll see you again soon. That was just great. He's a ride. He's a hoot. We always have a lot of fun. I want to close out with a great Vietnamese grandmama. There is an optometrist that I've used for years in North Texas, and she's Vietnamese, and she came here from Vietnam when Saigon fell, when we were abandoning our embassy. Her parents slept on top of her and told her it's just because they wanted to keep her warm, but it was because what they didn't tell her is because they expected bombs to come through the warehouse they were staying in for the night before they were airlifted out by the Americans to be hit with a bomb. And so when she woke up in the morning, they went to the helicopter. They saw a huge pile of clothes. She had to throw everything they owned away and just kept the clothes in their bags and got on a chopper and got lifted out of Vietnam. And she is the most conservative, pro-Trump person you could meet. And she is a success story. She is a Vietnamese immigrant who assimilated. She loves this country. She loves President Trump. And this grandmama right here reminds me of my optometrist. Check her out. This grandmama kicks butt and takes names. Here we go.
Oh, really? Well, why? What do you think about Donald Trump?
I love Donald Trump. He's strong. He said he do it.
Oh.
Yeah. You don't like him?
No, I voted for Joe Biden.
You're crazy.
Yeah.
Never voted.
And then I voted for Kamala.
Never vote for Democrat. No one. They asshole.
You don't like Kamala?
No, she a cuckoo. I'm smarter than her.
I love that grandmama. Vietnamese grandmama. Grandma, why do you like Trump? He's strong. He says he do it, and he do it. You don't like him? No, I voted for Biden and Kamala. You crazy. Never vote Democrat. They asshole. She said, sorry about the language, but she said it. Hey, pray for my friend Jared. I mentioned earlier his house flooded. I called Jim Dutton and asked him for my friend Jared. Pray for him and his wife and his kids because they got flooded last night. And I had the privilege of calling my friend Jim Dutton, the owner of Due West Foundation and Plumbing Repair, the host of Texas Home Improvement. Jim's been a dear friend of mine. I'm going to go by tomorrow, and I talked to his wife, Mary, who my wife worked with the Duttons for 3 years at Due West Foundation Repair and Plumbing. And Jim always taught me to have your plumber and your foundation person be the same people because they will blame each other. And so my friend called me after last night having flooding. The plumbing company left his place exposed with water that came into that house under the tunnels they dug, and the house flooded up. Pray for Jared and his family for provision and protection, and that he will get justice in that. So use Jim. Go to Due-West, Du-West Foundation and Plumbing, DueWest.com. If you want the best, call Due West. And by the way, this entire podcast, is brought to you by IRSprob.com. That's IRSprob.com. Helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, tax planning strategies. I've had a blast with you tonight, and hope you've had as much fun as I have. I will see you for the next podcast very, very soon, my friend.